Skybound, Maribelle's Journey. Long ago, in a village tucked between gentle green hills, lived a young inventor named Maribelle, though everyone called her Marie for short. Marie was no taller than a fence post and no older than 11 summers, but she had a mind bursting with big ideas. She wore round brass goggles on her head, smudged with soot and grease. Her fingers were always tinkering and tapping, forging new gadgets and gizmos out of scrap metal and old clock parts. You see, Marie had grown up in a family of farmers where everyone else loved working close to the earth. Her mother's hands were skilled at ploughing and planting. Her father was a clever carpenter who built sturdy barns and more. Her older brother tended to the cows and chickens. Even her grandparents felt at home in the fields, coaxing plants to grow tall under their care. But Marie wanted to look upward. She dreamed of drifting among the clouds. She imagined what might float high above them. Could there be islands hidden in the mist? Strange creatures made of cloud fluff? Perhaps lost treasures from centuries past? She just had to find out. For months, Marie laboured in secret in the old tool shed behind her family's cottage. She collected materials, old wagon wheels, a cracked boat hull, spare propellers from a broken windmill. She shaped and polished metal sheets, tested tiny engines, and measured out bright red sails that caught the wind. At last, on a clear morning with peach-coloured sunlight, she unveiled her creation, a flying ship. It looked like a whimsical cross between a sailboat and a hot air balloon. It had propellers at the back, delicate wings made of layered fabric, and a small furnace inside to heat up the lifting balloon. Its hull was painted sky blue, dotted with shining copper rivets. Marie christened it the Skylark. Her family gathered around, astonished. Her mother placed a reassuring hand on Marie's shoulder and said, "You have truly built something remarkable." Her father gave a proud nod, though worry lingered in his eyes. "Be careful up there," he said softly. "The skies hold wonders and secrets not easily understood." Marie's brother rolled his eyes, but he helped push the ship onto a tall wooden ramp. With a final check of gears and gauges, Marie hopped aboard. She threw a lever, and with a gentle whoosh, the Skylark began to rise. Her heart pounded with excitement. As her family and neighbours watched, the ship soared above the rooftops, past the weather vane, and into the open blue sky. The higher Marie flew, the more the world below became a patchwork of fields and rivers. She guided the Skylark into fluffy clouds that rolled by like giant, gentle sheep. Suddenly, something darted by the bow of her ship, a shape like a small, winged creature. It made a soft, chiming sound and disappeared into the clouds. Marie followed carefully, pushing the throttle forward. Beyond a billowing wall of mist, she discovered something astonishing, a floating island suspended in mid-air. Its edges sparkled with crystal formations. Tall, spiraling trees with silver leaves rustled in a gentle breeze. Blue butterflies drifted lazily among glowing flowers. At the island's centre sat a ring of stones arranged around a pond that shimmered like a polished mirror. Marie anchored the Skylark to a jutting rock and ventured onto the island. It felt spongy under her feet, as if made of moss and magic. Just then, she heard a melody, a whispery, gentle tune. Turning, she saw a creature that looked like a small fox, except it was made entirely of cloud. Its tail curled behind it in wispy puffs. As Marie approached, the cloud fox tilted its head and let out a soft, airy bark. "Hello there," Marie said softly. "I'm Marie. I mean no harm. I'm just exploring." The cloud fox flicked its tail and trotted gracefully to the ring of stones, beckoning her to follow. As Marie drew near, the fox pawed at the stones. To her amazement, the stones began to glow and an image shimmered above the pond's surface. It showed a person who looked very much like Marie, only older and dressed in a long coat with goggles. She realized with a start. It was her grandfather, the one who had vanished years before she was born. The image showed him sailing among these very skies in a flying ship of his own design, much like her own, waving and smiling broadly. The image began to fade, vanishing into glowing motes of light. Mary's heart ached. She had known that her grandfather was once an adventurous inventor, but no one in her family spoke much about him. They said he simply drifted away on a grand expedition and never returned. Could it be he had travelled through these skies, discovered these islands, and befriended these gentle cloud creatures? Eager to learn more, Mari followed the cloud fox deeper into the island. Soon she came upon a set of runes carved into a strange, floating tree trunk. At her presence, the runes flared up with soft golden light. They formed letters in the air, as if writing a story before her eyes. The letters told a tale. Her grandfather had once built a magnificent airship and journeyed into the sky. He befriended cloud creatures, mapped out hidden islands, and studied the mysteries of the wind. But one day, a fierce storm arose. He tried to guide his ship home, but the winds were too wild. It seemed that he was lost. Tears welled in Mary's eyes. "Grandfather," she whispered. Yet as she kept reading, she found a hopeful note. He was not gone, only trapped on a faraway island, waiting for someone with a kind heart and a keen mind to continue his work, and perhaps to find him. Determined, Mary rushed back to the Skylark, the cloud fox trotting alongside. She checked her maps and dials, adjusting the altitude controls. Perhaps, if she sailed in a certain direction, she could find more islands and clues. Before she left, the cloud fox nudged her with its puffy snout, then licked her cheek, leaving a cool, refreshing sensation like a morning breeze. Mari smiled. "I'll come back," she promised, "and I'll help my grandfather." So, Mari ventured onward, navigating through corridors of drifting clouds. She passed through a shimmering rain shower that tinkled like tiny bells and soared around a floating meadow where sky whales gently grazed on wispy blossoms. Each new wonder filled her heart with both excitement and comfort. Somehow, she felt closer to her family than ever before, even though she was so far from home. At last, she found another island, smaller and darker than the first. Twisted vines hung from its edges, and the wind whistled eerily. Mari steered cautiously, noticing a faint glow within a cluster of rocks. She landed and followed the light, ducking under jagged branches. There, she found a scrap of canvas, old and faded, but bearing her grandfather's initials. Next to it lay a broken compass, its needle spinning lazily. She pieced together a clue. The needle pointed not north, but to a hidden current in the air. Perhaps following it would lead her to the island where her grandfather awaited rescue. With a careful hand, Mari repaired the compass in the Skylark's workshop below deck. She added a new gear here, tightened a spring there, and sealed it with a bit of oil. When she brought it back up, the needle no longer spun aimlessly. It pointed straight ahead into a bank of lavender-tinted clouds. Mari smiled, fired the furnace, and followed the compass. After some time, she came upon an island that sparkled like a giant crystal. Tall towers of quartz rose around a central courtyard, and there, seated in the shadow of a great crystal spire, was a man with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes, her grandfather. Tears of joy stung Mari's eyes as she hurried over. She found him older, but still brimming with gentle warmth. He had survived on the island's fruits and clear water, studying the sky and waiting. He embraced Mari, and they talked for hours. He told her of his old adventures, of how the storm had carried him too far to return. He had feared he might never see his family again. Mari explained how she built the Skylark and followed the clues. Her grandfather's eyes shone with pride. "You've not only shown great inventiveness, my dear," he said softly, "but also great courage and heart. You have discovered who you are meant to be, not just a child of farmers, but a true explorer and an inventor. Together they returned to the Skylark, and with both of them at the helm, the ship sailed homeward. They passed the friendly cloud fox's island, and Mari waved goodbye. She knew now that she wasn't alone in her passions. Her family's past included grand adventures just like hers. And now that past and present were united, they could share stories and knowledge for years to come. When the Skylark dipped below the clouds and the village rooftops came into view, a cheer rose up from Mari's family. They ran forward as the ship landed softly in a field of tall grass. Mari's grandfather stepped off first, tears in his eyes, grateful for his return. Mari, goggles perched on her brow, grinned proudly at her stunned and delighted family. Her father clapped her on the back. "I should have trusted your instincts," he said with a quavering voice. Her mother, speechless, just held them both tight. That night, gathered around a warm fire, Mari's grandfather told tales of sky islands and cloud creatures. Mari listened with a full heart, her dreams now woven into the family tapestry. In her pocket, she held a tiny cog from the original flying ship, a reminder that her inventions and her spirit of exploration connected her not only to her family's past, but to limitless skies ahead. And so, under a starry sky, as the village grew quiet and the fields slept, Mari drifted into slumber. She carried with her the sure knowledge that she was an inventor, an explorer, and a discoverer of secrets, one who dared to fly beyond the horizon and come home changed, yet more herself than ever before.